Hi, it's Brendan here, the mini painting noob. In my last video I showed you what I'd done with the giant from the Grimm Forest. You can see here, oops, the giant, all painted. We fixed up his base and put some more grass on. This was painted using Army Painter's Speedpaint range. Today we're going to do some touch-ups to the dragon from the Grimm Forest. Here we can see on the card that we've got a red dragon with some white bony bits down its back. It's pretty straightforward in terms of colour, just some red and some bone. So what I've done so far is painted the dragon in red. This was 2 coats of Army Painter's Blood Red over a zenithal prime. This mini had the same issue as the giant, that the zenithal was a bit dark. So we can see down in the building here, for example, that the orange that I stuck on for brickwork just shows up quite black. And I think you can see here underneath the dragon here, it's just very, very dark. Most of the shadowing here, some of it's zenithal, some of it is from the speed paint as it pulls in the gaps. And yeah, so what I was going to do today is just do some touch-ups. I wanted the dragon to be brighter along its head and spine, and I also wanted to make sure that all of these bony bits were white or bone coloured. So what we're going to do is paint the rest of the red. What I did was dry brush on some white, and then I touched up the bony parts in white as well. Had to do quite a few coats. You may have heard speed paint has a reactivation issue with the colours. They reactivate and seep through top layers. So where I dry brushed on white onto this figure, you can see that the red has bled through and it's looking quite pink. So you need to do either a satin coat, like a satin lacquer coat, and then paint over, or wait a very long time for it to dry, or do just quite a few coats. So at that we'll try my first attempt at painting live on video. So I'll grab the blood red here, and I just pour that, if I'm going to move this down, onto a dry palette. So let's just give that a shake. So Army Painter's speed paints contain 2 mixing bowls preloaded, which is really good. Makes it super easy to mix their paints. I'm quite conservative of how much I drop, so probably with about that much at the minute. Alright. The brush I'm going to use, because it's quite a narrow working area, quite a small area, I'm going to use the standard brush. So it's quite a small tip compared to most of the brushing that I do for speed paint. Even for smaller areas I use the monster brush, which is the one that comes with the speed paint sets. So if you buy a set of speed paint, you get the monster brush. You can see I'm using a significantly smaller brush there. So let's have a look. I'm also wearing a 2x magnifier because my eyesight isn't that flash. Hopefully I'll be able to paint alright. So let's see, here we go. So the aim here is to get the red on the spine, getting it to pull where I want it to pull, and not pull where I don't want it to, and also I don't want to cover up those white bony bits that streak it out, that come out. So I'm wearing the magnifier so I can just see that much better. Let's see, is that in focus for you guys? If I try and hold it about there. So you can see already that's looking significantly brighter than the rest of the dragon because it's on that brighter white. So just rinse my brush and let's keep going. You can see here I got some red on the rooftop. What I like about this speed paint is if you do make a mistake and you get some paint where you don't want it to go, you can suck it up with a wet brush, just like that, and you wipe it on a cloth and you just sort of keep going until you've got it. Sorry, not a cloth, I'm using like a handy towel, so you can see I'm just wiping the brush on there. So just wipe off that brush again, and let's keep going. Let's see how we go. So again, I'm new to this. I have not painted any minis before in my life, so I don't know what this is going to turn out like. But you know, I saw that speed paint was coming out, and I've got all these board games that I like to play, but you know, grey minis are kind of boring, so oops. So I thought I might give my minis a bit of colour. I'm trying to keep this in focus for you guys as well. It's a bit challenging. So you just dab it on. It just automatically pulls where you want it to pull. And it makes these crevices darker. This magnifier and small brush is working much better for me than the big brush when I painted this the first time around. All of these bony bits just ended up being red, even though I was trying to miss them. I'm not sure how long this video will be. I'm not planning on cutting it or doing a time lapse or anything like that. We're just going to keep it going as long as my phone has storage. And yeah, we'll just see how it goes. So if you want to skip ahead, then feel free. I'm just going to slowly work my way up the spine here. Just continuing to try and miss these bony parts. It's just a case of dip into the paint, spread around the model. I think I've covered a few bony parts by mistake already. Oops, and again. You can see on the wing here I've got some, accidentally got some speed paint. It's probably not that big a deal, but so you can take a wet brush and you can sort of get most of it off. And sort of blend it in with the other red that's there. Yep. Alright, let's continue going. Okay, back at the spine here. So I'm planning on doing pretty much another full coat of red once I've done this detailed part that I've got to go super slow on. And this is just sort of forcing that highlights where I'm wanting the highlights. You'll see I also dry brushed the top of the wings, so I'm planning on going over those with the red again, so the top of the wings won't look white, they'll have that red coverage. Now there's a lot of bony stuff right here, so I've got to be super careful. You can see that alright? Just refocus. This magnifier I'm using is pretty cool. It's got a LED light on it as well, so hopefully you're getting a bit of extra light as I'm painting. Alright, so I think that is the spine done. So you can see even way down here the paint is still wet. This has quite a slow dry time. Let's try and get a little bit there. So I haven't got all of the bony parts white, unfortunately, but I mean, yeah, for my first crack at this, it might be enough. Alright, so let's tackle the head. So, all of these bits are just straight red. Let's try and miss his eyes. So I really like how easy the paint brushes on, and like I said, if you do get it in the wrong place, most of it comes off fairly easily. In a future video I'll show you some instances where it hasn't come off that easily, but it sort of blends, and you can, you know, go over it with another colour, alright. So this is making his head a lot brighter, which is great. So it was quite dark before I, you know, with the first few coats of red that I did, so that's why I went over again with the dry brush. Yeah, my apologies for you guys missing that piece of the action. It was sort of a late idea to film this. Let's get it back into focus. So I've managed to cover up his eye. I mean, it's probably not that bad. I can put a white dot back in there. So yeah, the teeth as well needed, sorry, the wings are getting in the way, right? Get that back into focus again. The teeth as well, because they were painted just straight red the first time we went over these. It took quite a few coats to get them back to white again. Because of that reactivation. But you know, you end up, they do get white eventually. I didn't have to wait, you know, drying time or anything like that. It was just a case of wait a couple of minutes. It didn't have to be fully dry. Just keep on putting a bit of extra paint on. But, alright, the side of the jaw there. See a sinewy bit. Alrighty. His head's looking much brighter than his body now. You can see I accidentally painted over one of the eyes. I'll fix that once this is all dry. So we've got the back much brighter. Okay, so we'll do the top of the wings here. I could probably change to the bigger brush now and take these magnifiers off. It might be a bit easier. I find the paint goes on pretty well with the big brush. Just go around these bony parts again with the small one. So there's some bone sticking out of the wings. So it'd be good to just miss that bit. Here we go. Alright, that's the top of that wing. Let's do the other one. The more coats of the paint that you put on, the darker that it gets. So if I go over this model with another full coat of red, it will get darker again. So I'm not sure if I want to go over the whole thing or just these areas one more time. It might take the highlights away, not sure. Go over these areas here. It's quite fiddly going around these wings. I haven't done this one at all. Oops, too much. Too much on the brush at that point, so it's kind of pulling a lot. Alright, let's see if I can get a little bit of that red off that white. moving it around. So on this sticking out bone bit here, you can see I've got too much red. So I'm just going to slide the brush in there and take the red off. I can go back over this with white, so it's not a problem there. These ones are easy enough to paint, so I'm not too concerned. But we can take some of the red off, make it a bit easier for me later. And just keep on going over, too much, with a damp brush, and it will take some of that colour away. Alrighty. Looks like I got some on that teeth there too. Yep. And just give it a bit of a brush, and the colour sort of desaturates. I don't know if you can do this with acrylics or not. In my experience with just the couple that I've used, you can't. So I quite like that. I can just wipe, and it's like nothing ever happened. So I'll go over that with a little bit more white when this is all dry. So that is pretty much it for what I was wanting to get done in this session. So just gone over all of the areas where I had dry brushed, just getting that red back on there, and it's brighter now than what it was. So you can see here one of the benefits of the speed paint, focus in on there. So all of those details of the head and the torso, the paint just gets in there and pulls. There's no need for a wash. Shouldn't be any need for any further highlights. So it really is speed paint if you prime your model properly, which I hadn't done in this one. There's a bit of white there. Let's go. Not sure where that came from. Neck there. Yeah, so that's that. What I like to do with my paints, when I have some out, I've got quite a bit of red left, and so I look around at the other models that I've got on the go and think, is there anything else that I want to paint red? And so I do quite a bit of batch painting, one colour at a time. And I know I missed a big bad wolf here, so let's have a look. So there's models for each of these cards, and here we've got the big bad wolf. So he's got nice red eyes. So have a look at the figure here. Come into focus. So I'm waiting for some more colours from Army Painter to be released. They're coming out at the end of March. So there's a few of these figures I won't get finished until then, and I'll start painting Shadows over Camelot and come back to these guys once the new paints have come out. He's got a green sort of jacket on, and then his white shirt. So I don't have the white yet from Army Painter, and they're releasing a couple more greens. So I want to wait for those to come out before I finish this dude. But I had to play with basing, and I've done his shawl thing that he's got on. We've done a bit of gold and black. Those are just straight acrylics from Vallejo. Same with his gold buttons. Just having a play really with those sort of colours. I'm expecting I'll probably have to paint over them again once I get the other colour, Army Painter colours in. But I've prepared his eye sockets with some white, so the red should hopefully stand out. And well, I've got these magnifiers on and this small brush. In fact, I might need a smaller brush. Let's try and get that into focus for you. There we go. Is that brush going to be too big? Kind of looks it. Yep, went over just a wee bit. Let's give that a dab. Cool, that's one red eye. And let's go for the other one. So it's looking, he did have red eyes before, but I wasn't happy with the brightness, so I undercoated white. Oopsie, that is a red eyebrow. Just dab. There we go. Easy to get off. He's very menacing. Much brighter than his eyes were last time. You can see I'll get in there with his teeth. So Mr. Wolfie here, he probably needs a few highlights just to make his face stand out just a wee bit more. But his base colour there is Gravelord Grey. And his shawl, I did a mix of Hive Dweller Purple with some Blood Red, and got this colour shawl for him. You can see how black it is at the bottom here, and that's a result again of that Zenithal Prime. It was too dark, so some of these figures will end up being a little bit too dark in their shading, but that's something that I've learnt, and the next batch that I'll show you are a lot brighter. So I think that is it for today's session. The next thing I want to do with these figures is just wait for some more Army Painter paints to come out. My next video we'll probably have a look at the pigs and see what I've done with those, and then following that I've got some Shadows over Camelot figures to show you guys. So I do have a sneak peek. We have some of the, I'm assuming they're baddies, I haven't read the rules yet, that I finished. So I'll walk through what I did with these guys. So this is all speed paint with the exception of the metallics. But I have ready primed all of the character figures, and you can see here I've gone heavy on that white Zenithal. So we've still got shadowing, we want shadowing, but it's not too dark in the other areas. So plenty of shadow still where we want shade, but things that we want bright are also bright. So I think we have managed to fix that issue. Whoops, that happens. Alright, so that is it for today. We'll catch you up for the next video. See ya.